This is the PR Podcast, a show about how public relations helps you tell your story to the world. We talk with great PR practitioners who have the skills, creativity, and just plain savvy to get their clients noticed. Now here's your host, Jody Fisher.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the PR Podcast. I'm Jody Fisher. Thanks for joining us. Well, do you like the new setup here in the PR garage? I got my orange microphone here. I'm trying this out for the first time. This is the first episode that we're trying without the green screen background that we normally have. I did some purchasing at my local Harbor Freight. And normally I have the TV, there's a TV on behind me, but I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, anybody who knows me knows I'm a super geek and I love all my toys and, so here we are in the brand new PR garage. You'll probably see more of that in videos and things like that. But more importantly, make sure that you tune in, because you can see it now, to my Instagram Live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's where we do a 15-minute check-in. We talk about what's going in PR at that very moment, any breaking news, any new stuff coming out, things like that. We also play our game called Why Is That News, where I grab a story out of my local newspaper or local TV station, and I try to dissect it and figure out how the PR person pitched the story, or how the reporter decided to cover the story, and why it ended up in the newspaper or on TV or on the radio. We'd love to get your suggestions for that too. So send us an idea that we can dissect on that Instagram Live as part of our Why Is That News segment. But that's every Thursday on my Instagram, which is at Jody Fisher. Every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Please join us for that. Just take your coffee break at 2 o'clock, on a Thursday afternoon. Check in. All right, now we're on with our show today and our terrific guest. Dara Cothran is Executive Vice President, Global Strategy and Insights at KWT Global, a leading integrated communications agency, where she helps both consumer and corporate brands clarify their purpose and become intentionally resonant with their audiences. As part of her work in identifying trends and creating new offerings that reflect the future of the industry for clients, KWT has released its inaugural Resonance Report, Earning Influence, with proprietary research that explores how executive resonance impacts business performance. Dara, welcome to the PR Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
So we want to talk about this report here, Resonance Report, Earning Influence. Tell us about that, what it is, why you did it, and what it says.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I'm excited to be here and chat about it. And I love talking with an audience of like-minded communicators. So actually, I'll start with the genesis. We work in communications. Your audience works in communications. We all know that having a senior leader as the face of your business, it's incredibly important. I've heard you reference it multiple times on the show. And it's really not just enough to be present. You can't just talk at audiences. You need to influence them. So, what we're starting to see is a lot more executives present, representing their businesses on social, in the media, but we really wanted to understand how are they navigating that ecosystem, especially their attitudes, their behaviors, their priorities, which is, the genesis for the KWT Global Resonance Report, this first chapter, which is Earning Influence. And I think, we got a lot of really great, interesting findings out of it. I don't think you'll be surprised to find out that 91% of executives are being used as a part of their organization's external communication strategy. Side note, I think we can all help the other 9%. They definitely need help.
Well, I think probably the 91% also need help, right?
Yes,
Because
they
there
also
are
need our help.
varying degrees of good at what they're doing there, I'm sure.
Yes, and that is exactly why we are here to help as a group. And I think communications plays such an important function, and we have such a strong role to play in the future of businesses. I think we're at a really kind of pivotal time for our businesses where we can really get in there and show the CEOs, show the most senior executives the impact we have, and the impact they can have on their business. And they're desperate for that help. I think 90% of them told us that they believe having a strong and visible leader is important for their success. 84% agree customers are more likely to buy a company's product or service if they can relate to its leader. but 61% acknowledge that it's really, really difficult for them to appear relatable. And that's where we come in.
Yeah,
So
there's that disconnect, right? And
yes.
there is the how we help. But did the report go into kind of what their perception of themselves is? I mean, yes, they acknowledge they have a role to play, but do they think they're particularly good at it? And what do they need to improve?
Well, and an interesting fact is that almost half of them, and we actually just released the stats for Europe as well, and even less executives in Europe, less than half of them feel that they're actually proficient in it. Most of them are pretty uncomfortable, especially when it comes to social media. And in Europe, I actually believe that number decreases down to almost a third. So there's a really big opportunity here for, us and our community to really help them out there. And I think the challenge is, a lot of executives feel that they need to have this outsized impact, this outsized personality when they get onto social, or even, when they're out there in general, doing their own thought media. But really, the executives who do it best, the executives who are most resonant, the executives who have the biggest impact, are really just letting their authentic selves pull through. And that is what's important. You have to be authentic there.
Couldn't
So,
agree more. I mean, we talk about authenticity so much in what we do and so much with our clients.
mhm,
And we all know that some executives are gifted in their communication skills, their relatable skills, their authenticity skills, and others struggle with it. Not that they're bad people, but they struggle with it.
mhm.
Are there ways that you work with your clients to help them find their authenticity?
Yes. So actually, we were seeing a lot of this happening. We were seeing a lot of executives come to us and just, requesting help for PR and social, but, at the end of the day, not really being sure who they were and what they stood for. So we actually created what we call a proprietary offering. It's called KWT X Voice. It integrates with our other core services, but it helps executives really discern when and how to show up most authentically to kind of earn influence with their audiences and really impact those business outcomes. And really at its core is tailored persona mapping. We build them a personal strategy playbook that's focused on helping that persona shine through. And the feedback we've gotten is that, oh, you helped me find myself again, or now I have the confidence to go out there and do this. And so, it's really just shining a light on that and how who you are, with a little bit of a filter of your business objectives can really provide that impact for you and that roadmap so that they feel confident, like, oh yes, yes, we are all on the same page. This is how I can help bring it to life. And we've seen a lot of success with that in, giving them the confidence to go out there and have that impact to, maybe post something that they were a little afraid to, but it was so core to who they are. And it's been successful.
It sounds like you're part therapist, part PR person there.
We do these we call them persona workshops, where, and a lot of people have asked us, it's a really personal process. So we get on and we do workshops with them. We put them through a couple of exercises. We ask them who inspires them. We ask them what kind of words and language they use, because, we find when working with executives, maybe your interpretation of confident is very different than their interpretation of confident. And that's important when you're trying to convey their voice and tone to the world. Um, and we do have quite a few who are a little grumbly at the beginning, about being present, spending the time. And then I have not had a single person leave who hasn't been like, well, this was fun. This was like a therapy session. And you get to know them on this, like really intimate level as to what makes them tick. They really open up to us through kind of the fun of the exercises. And that also creates a really lasting relationship, where you understand what makes them tick. You really understand, their concerns and their fears and their way of their business. And it sets you up better to be able to provide them the support that they need in the long run as well.
So great. Because the safe space for so many CEOs is data, is numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the
Mm-hmm.
proof of whether or not they're doing a good job and whether their company perhaps is
Mm-hmm.
doing a good job.
Yeah.
How do you create that brand narrative, that authenticity, while integrating feedback and data and pivoting in real time?
Yeah, and I think, for us, whether we're talking about a person or a brand, the building blocks of the process are the same. You need to understand yourself, why why are you here? Why is this brand here? Have empathy for your audience. How are you helping them? What are you bringing to the table? If you're an executive and you're going in for a media interview, what are you bringing to them that's relevant to the media's audience? What are you contributing on social? Helping understand who you're trying to speak to and what matters for them. And then just being clear on the cultural context and what you're operating in. What is happening in the zeitgeist really matters if you want a message to land. You can't be out of touch or lose your tone, or come off with the wrong tone. So those things all really matter, and data and insights are important to kind of uncovering those bits and pieces, especially when it comes to the audience. We have so many more tools at our fingertips now that we can access about what our audience is engaging with, what matters to them. There's so much more research out there, and so using it, building it, laying out your kind of platform, what you're gonna talk about, who you're trying to reach, what you're trying to accomplish, and then keeping those objectives in mind when you set those KPIs and making sure that you're really actually working towards something, and every action you put forth is working towards those KPIs. And then measuring against them regularly. Like you have immediate feedback on social posts as to like whether somebody's engaging. You have immediate feedback with the earned media when you're pitching. Are people picking up your pitch? Is it resonant? Does it matter? So you can adapt in those ways, but then you also give things time to settle. What's that message pull through like? How's that coming to life? And so you've got your short-term iteration, you've got your midterm iteration, you've got your long-term iteration. And I think, the things that we're trying to reinforce to our teams these days, too, is that don't see everybody's so scared of KPIs. Well, I didn't hit my KPIs. I got it wrong. Instead we're trying to talk about seeing them as, key possibility indicators, because that data can help you, direct you in the right way and really open up the doors for what is possible. And if you reframe your thinking a little bit around that, you stop being scared about them and you start seeing them as collaborative moments in time where you can be transparent and where you can really work with your clients to get where you need to go, whether it be a person or a brand.
Yeah, it can be so frustrating for us as PR people, right? Because it's the industry that sort of, I'm going to say it, is kind of immeasurable.
Mm-hmm.
And CEOs are at the opposite end of the spectrum. They want those KPIs, they want that ROI, they
Mm-hmm.
need that data. And so how do you help them find that middle ground, that gives them enough data, enough feedback to make them go, yes, this is a good investment, I want to keep at this?
Yeah, and I think, one of the things we've done with our process is be very intentional about, okay, what CEO are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to reach new audiences? Are you trying to diversify where you're going? Are you trying to outpace your competitors? And really starting with that kind of that information first, doing a really detailed analysis of using AI tools. What are your competitors talking about? Like, what are the words and the phrases that are coming up most frequently? And kind of working with them to set that bar at the beginning so that you do have a place from which to show progress. Because if you don't have that kind of initial data, then you're not going to get there. And I think the other thing we're trying to do more often is really kind of engage our clients as partners in this measurement. Are we or do we have, like, are we following link clicks? Are we trying to direct back to a website? Like, let's not just say we are and then let it go to die. Like sometimes we say that and then we're like, well, did we follow up? Did we check on that? Is that working? And holding them accountable to that too. We've even like reframed some of our message, our results grid, so that we're showing where the client's input is necessary to really showcase how we're getting to that final kind of business impact. But like, we brought it here. Like we showed you how many links were clicked on, what happened on the site when people got there. Did they download that report? Did they engage with that product? Because you're going to have to help us complete the circle, because if we didn't, then we need to diagnose what the challenge was in there. And I think, for CEOs, as far as them, being and engaging with social, that was another reason that we did this research. We wanted to have the data up front to say, like, look, this will impact your business results. This will, do X, Y, and Z. And it's really served us well in helping kind of our day-to-day clients convince their clients to come on board, and finding kind of best-in-class examples and things like that, and showing how that progress was made.
There's another art to this when we're trying to, I guess, connect the dots, right, between different verticals, creating opportunities. The CEO sits down across the table and goes, "I want to be in the Wall Street Journal. I want to be in the New York Times. And frequently our question, at least mine, is why, right? Is that the
Exactly.
right platform to reach the
Yeah.
audience you're trying to reach? But sometimes too, part of what we have to decode as PR people is connecting dots between verticals to create media opportunities where there are none, right? Coming
Hmm.
up with that creative idea that still syncs up with going back to the original conversation, the authenticity and what
Hmm.
you're trying to convey. Do you have a process that you use with clients to make that make sense for them to go, "Oh yeah, we need to do that now"?
Yeah. Well, and for me, a lot of that is about the audience. They're like, "Oh, I'm a tech company, like we need to get in the tech trades. We're trying to sell these things." Like, "Oh, okay. Well, who are you selling to?" Your audience is directors of technology. Great. In this industry, great. Well, they're humans, like they don't just consume what's happening in the tech trades. They're human beings with, like interests. And where are some other places that we might be able to tell interesting stories and intersect them? I love to dig deep on an audience. We call it parallel interests actually at the agency. And we really love to dig deep on an audience, understand, what makes them take. Are they big on gaming? Great. Well, then, is there some, like, how can we intersect that? Do we have a gaming partner that we can use to maybe like do some case studies? Are they athletes? We've got a couple CEOs that are really kind of avid runners and things like that, and we will do profiles and muscle and fitness and men's health and women's health, really kind of helping bring out that kind of well-rounded aspect of them. And when you catch somebody where they're in a place where they're curious, they're open and engaged, they're not necessarily in work mode, but they're being reinforced by seeing your presence there. They're like, "Oh, you really are bigger than I thought you were. Maybe I need to rethink myself." And so that's kind of, it all goes back to who you're trying to reach, and just remembering that everybody's a human. They are not just one thing, they are not just the thing we are at work. So like, let's uncover that, let's dig it a little deeper, and try and connect with them in different ways, help solve different problems.
It's a great report, and I'm so glad you came on to talk about it because it reinforces, I think, everything that we speak about, week in, week out on the show, and certainly the lives that we live as PR people. So, Dara,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much for sharing all this. We're not
Thank
done
you.
with you yet,
All
however.
right.
We are going to segue now into the rapid fire question portion of our podcast. This is where we steal a page from inside the actor's studio. We
Mhm.
ask our guests a series of rapid fire questions meant to elicit a simple answer, maybe a laugh or two. With your indulgence, Dara Cothran, let's begin with rapid fire
Sure.
question number one. What's your favorite news source?
I am a newsletter junkie. I love to get a taste of everything that's out there every day. I probably turn to Cheddar for my kind of nice AM summary, Morning Consult for my insights, and then Quartz and Axios. Just love them, for that really thoughtful analysis.
I tell you, the aggregators have become so much more important because there's so much
Mhm.
news out there we can't possibly consume it all. Long
Yeah.
gone are the days that we could pick up a couple newspapers and watch a couple of TV
Oh
newscasts and
yeah.
be done.
And just dig deep, and have everything. There's just so much information everywhere, and for a curious mind, it can be a little overwhelming. But I feel like those are the ones that I don't file away. Those are the ones that actually land in my inbox every day.
Sounds good. Rapid fire question number 2. What's your favorite social media platform?
For fun, I love TikTok. I love the discovery. But for work, LinkedIn. I just feel like there's so much potential there. It's so malleable. But TikTok can be a lot of fun, just to turn your brain off.
Yes, it can. Rapid fire question number 3. Coffee or alcohol?
Wine, always. Actually, I will say I like beer too. I love the discovery of going to a brewery or a winery and getting to try out new things. So
Limitless possibilities, right? Rapid fire question number 4. What's your favorite on the run food?
Peanut butter crackers. You got a little protein, little salt, little sweetness. Yeah.
I
Yeah, that
like
will be
it.
satisfying and filling.
Works
Uh
for me. And
yeah.
rapid fire question number 5. What do you want to be after you finish this career?
Some sort of history tour guide. I love old houses and kind of the stories of the people who lived there, which I guess, that aligns really nicely with the fact that I love to dig into CEOs' backgrounds. And I just love to be able to, spend all day deep diving into those stories and telling people about them.
Got to know the history. Really good
Yeah,
stuff, Dara.
yeah.
This has been a great conversation. Please let people know how they can find you online.
Sure. Well, you can find out a little bit more about my work at kwtglobal.com, as well as all of our research reports. And then you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. Just my name, Dara Cothran, Dara. So yeah.
Sounds good, Dara. Thanks again for joining us. And thank you, everyone, for listening. Please remember to subscribe to the show. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at The PR Podcast, and send us a question or a comment. Our intro is by Christopher Apple. You can find him and his fantastic photography on Instagram at Christopher_APPOLDT. Check him out there and hire him for all your photography needs. You can find me online at Jody Fisher on all the socials and on the web at jodyfisherpr.com. We'll see you next time on the PR Podcast.